Good morning, fellow fig lovers. Just a really quick video on overwintering figs successfully that you're not going to want to miss. So I live in Colorado in a very high altitude, volatile, rough zone 5. When I say volatile and rough, I don't mean just a regular zone 5. This can be very hot one day and very cold the next day. It's just very hard to grow really almost anything, let alone figs up here. And if you've tuned in before, you might know that I have been growing figs successfully in this greenhouse here, in the ground, with a recycled window greenhouse. And it's been amazing, but I've really been wanting to try to successfully grow them in ground as well, so I can grow more varieties than can fit in there. So for the past several years, I've just been throwing them in the ground and protecting them every which way that I've learned. You know, I've been using containers, multiple containers, so there's multiple layers on top of them in the winter. I've tried the leaf trick, a cage with leaves inside, fill the leaves up to see if they can survive, to no avail. They usually end up just dried out and dead all the way down to the ground. But this year, between seeing someone, there was a woman in Poland who was posting about using wood chip mulch to cover her figs, to like lay the fig branches down and cover them. And also I have a good gardening friend named Marvin who's been doing the same thing as well. So I decided to try it this year, and I cannot wait to show you the results right now. So here are 2 fig trees with a little bit of hilled forest mulch, as I call it, which is just ground up trees from the tree service companies. I highly recommend it. It's not even that high. In fact, this past winter was really harsh. It got to around negative 15 degrees Fahrenheit here. And I was kind of frustrated with myself that I didn't hill it even a little higher, because that's only like several inches of mulch all together on top of these 2 little fig trees. But I took a sneak preview yesterday and I was amazed at what it appears to be, but I'm going to go ahead and totally uncover them right now for the first time. And these are 2 pretty young fig trees I just put in the ground, not even just last growing season. It was actually right before the winter season. So they didn't even have an ample amount of time to root and take root, but I planted them, put the wood chips on top, and here's the first branch I'm uncovering. Check this out. It made it all the way to the tips. You know, these are green tips, ready to begin to swell and come out. I mean, they're already swelling, so they're about to leaf out very soon here, especially as I uncover them to get some sun and fresh air. There's another one. That's amazing. Here's some more. Even a thinner branch. I mean, these again are young fig trees. These branches are not thick at all, and they still made it beautifully. Oh, here's another one, a thin one that's actually leafing out already. This is absolutely incredible. I'm so excited right now to have figs successfully leafing out in April. With our crazy climate and potential of snowstorms in even the month of May, I'm gonna have to be ready to just protect these with like a trash can or something over them for a day or 2 if it gets really bad, but they should be okay. And honestly, the true test is not just overwintering figs in successfully in Colorado, but the true test is being able to have them fruit in Colorado. That would be really something else, and more on that at the end of this season when I probably do another video on actually covering them and how to. But I mean, this is pretty easy and very self-explanatory. You just hill up some of this mulch on top of these figs, you know, just bend the branches down to the ground. If you're able to plant it on an angle so that, you know, you can do that a little bit better. You know, I find figs are very flexible, and this wasn't even planted on an angle and it was okay. But if you are just planting your figs and planting this, you might as well plant some of the main branches on a little bit of like a 45-degree angle so that you could bend them down even easier. As you bend them down, you can put like a stone on them if you need temporarily while you put the mulch on top, but otherwise the mulch just weighs it right down. Or maybe even like a landscape or irrigation hook, one of those hooks that, like, you know, hold down the irrigation line or whatever. But again, once the mulch is on there, there's plenty of weight and plenty of insulative protection. Whew, there's another beautiful branch. Oh man. Again, these are thin branches, guys. These aren't even old trees, just planted. They were literally planted in the ground in the fall, overwintering negative 15 degrees. This is, I mean, for other fig lovers out there, you definitely, I mean, you can understand my excitement. A few others might. But to be able to overwinter figs successfully in this climate, man, this is honestly, this is like a big goal come true. I mean, with this little young fig tree right here, this is a 10 out of 10, 100% success. There is no dieback here, guys. No dieback at all. And I'm just gonna prop these back up a little bit, straighten them up a little bit for the year, and give them a really nice head start here. Okay, I'm gonna finish this up a little bit, and then I'm also going to start uncovering this one. And by the way, varieties, according to my friend Marvin, if this works out well, as we're testing this, and we're seeing that it does, honestly, guys, like, you won't have to worry about variety as much. You can probably grow any variety as long as there's enough mulch. But of course, it is nice to grow an extra hardy variety. This is so hardy. This is called Adriatic JH. It's one of the Adriatic figs. Beautiful strawberry, deep red interior, green-skinned fig. And the one over here that I'm about to uncover is a Ronde de Bordeaux, French variety. It's a beautiful small fig, and that is pretty known for its hardiness, and it's a very early producer. That's one of the reasons why I got this one, because again, part of the challenge here is not just overwintering figs in a short growing season, it's also getting them to fruit in time. So you want to look for early varieties, unless you're able to protect them somehow to extend the growing season. So this one I hadn't checked yet at all to see if it's successful, but judging by the other one, I bet we're gonna see something awesome here. And see these worms? These are red wigglers, and they also overwinter in an area that they shouldn't because of the mulch, guys. Like, if you view this channel a lot, you'll know that I'm all about deep mulching. It's just the way to go in gardening and successful gardening. You can do so much with it. It makes the most incredible soil, as evidenced by this worm action here. You know, and this is mostly a cold composting, like a fungal based composting. It's not hot, you know, otherwise you would kill your trees. But this probably does release synergistically a little bit of heat as it's breaking down over the winter. So, yep, there's our first tip right here. Look at this, totally green, totally alive. So this is awesome. And this guy here, guys, I planted this at the same time in the fall, and this is an even smaller, younger tree than the Adriatic JH. Look at that. That is awesome. This is going to take off this year because it's so young. But having such a healthy start this winter to root out and not die back to the ground, that is the key to getting fruit. If you can get your figs not to completely die back to the ground. I do have a hardy Chicago as well. Those are touted as being able to bear fruit even when they die back to the ground, but hasn't been true with me. Not in Colorado. It dies back to the ground every year pretty severely and never springs back up enough to bear fruit. But this year, I only anticipate the best based on what I'm seeing here. Okay guys, so here's another one that I uncovered. This is a Long Island, New York variety from where I grew up. I'm gonna name this after my dad, George Dukas. Got this from his yard. Otherwise, there really is no name on this one, but this is completely alive and beautiful. There's only one spot that's dead, and in fact, this was the only spot that was sticking up. It got partially uncovered. We were doing some work in this spot over the winter and forgot that we had covered the fig. This was sticking up out of the mulch, but check that out. Growth right underneath. So this stuff wasn't even far under the mulch, guys. I think right over here is only a few inches, and the mulch was still able to protect it. I do recommend deeper coverage than what I did, but oh my gosh, I mean, this is totally successful, so it totally works. Now remember, you know, these are smaller fig trees, so the larger the fig tree, the more mulch you're gonna need. If you're laying down a very large branch, you're gonna need a little bit more mulch to cover it. But that is it. You know, this is much better than leaves, much better than insulative containers and things like that, especially if you're in my zone. I'll bet you can do this in zone 4, especially if you have deep enough mulch. Just make it a little deeper. This to me is a game changer. This is the free stuff that in most areas the tree service companies are glad to drop off to you. And this stuff is the foundation to my food forest and all my successful gardening that very often I share on this channel. It creates its own beautiful soil. So not only are you protecting your figs and maybe pomegranates and other deciduous Mediterranean plants with this, but it never goes to waste. When you're done uncovering it, you could just mulch your stuff with it and build that soil. And that's really it. Just pile it on to your fig trees, and apparently you will be successful in zone 5 and potentially even lower by using this method. I plan on posting more videos on this, maybe a little bit more in depth as the winter rolls back around, and we'll even touch base with having successfully fruited this season or not. A lot of that is going to depend on our first frosts. Okay, so PS actually, here's another set of figs. This is another one of the Long Island ones in a very protected spot. This is like between my chicken coop and the garage wall here. But still, even with the protection, I haven't been able to get these to overwinter successfully until now. But these, I tried a slightly different method. We're using that mulch, same thing, but we're using it more vertically, not laying them down, letting the figs stay vertical. You just need more stuff. You need more mulch. I didn't have enough. So some of these branches were exposed. In fact, if you look closely, you can see like the dark color, that's alive, it looks like, and we'll check that out further in a second while I prune off the dead stuff. But from that dark stuff up, that's where they were actually protruding. They were sticking out of the mulch. So, you know, those portions of the branches had no chance. But if I would have used a little more mulch and gotten more to use and had hilled it up high enough, I am 100% convinced that these entire trees in their vertical growth, and these are just a little bit older than the others and bigger, would have made it completely. But since this is a hardy Chicago and it finally did not die all the way back to the ground, I anticipate fruit this year for sure because it has an amazing start. Deadwood here, exposed. By the way, this is some vermin damage, some mice that often get into our chicken coop, and they found this as it was exposed and they were chewing on the wood. So we even have a little bit of vermin damage here, but I'm gonna cut right to the nearest node because that is alive. Look at that. Let's get it to focus, there we go. Yep, these are leafing out right here already, amazing. So all I'm gonna do is cut down to that nearest growth on each one, and these are just beautiful. These are gonna get just a great start. So this is amazing. Vertical works as well. Don't even have to lay them down, but as long as you can get your mulch up there tall enough, a large enough pile. And here's that added benefit towards the bottom. This stuff that broke down is the most incredible soil to top dress the fig for a successful year this year. I hope this video inspires you and helps many growers out there in northern regions to grow more figs. They're delightful and it's so worth it. Until next time, be blessed.